Alright fellas, so welcome to Samo. We should be all good over here for the group stages. The Waneagu are okay, but we should be topping the group with an actual pre-season. We should be fine. I'm actually a bit more worried because Western Suburbs here as well, and last time we played them, they were a little bit angry. So just maybe if you're walking around town, put your shin guards on, maybe double-sided shin guards, just in case they, two-foot you from behind out of nowhere or something, because they did that last time we played them. It's just, I'm not worried about on the field because we're not playing them yet, but maybe just, be safe around Western Suburbs because they're dirty.
There's a party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 170 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Technical and the All Whites. Hope you're doing well, and come today we start off 2041 in the save, the second last year of this save, with some transfers and the group stages of the OFC Champions League. So if you're looking forward to that, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But last time I saw you, to be fair, when I'm recording this, not too sure if this is going to be coming out on the Friday or the Monday still, but we did play the National League Grand Final in 2040 against Western Suburbs. If you missed it, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. It was an interesting game with 3 red cards. We did win it 4-1 after extra time, largely thanks to 3 red cards to Western Suburbs. So thankfully, we are still the champions here in New Zealand and will at some point, you'd imagine, be taking on Western Suburbs in this season's Champions League. But off the back of that, did want to do some transfers. Stuart McPherson, our backup central attacking midfielder, he went to Barnsley come the start of this year. So that was definitely a position we needed someone. And also, probably for the Champions League, a replacement for Alex Moore, who is still out with that injury picked up in that final for 4 weeks to 2 months. So definitely needed someone to step up during the course of this group stage of the Champions League, and probably also the early stages of the knockouts as well. To be fair, still got some players in our B team and under 20s who we could call up, but we have done a little bit of business going into this new season. You can see there our transfer budget has gone down just £1,000, and the wage budget £11 a week over. To be fair, don't think we're doing too badly in that regard, especially compared to how it was looking at times last season. Just going over the right-hand side, a couple of other players have left, but all those guys actually were in our under-20s. Cameron Williams-Rogerson, he's gone up to stop out those guys in North Island. Carlos Antonio Chavez up to Nelson Suburbs, and as well as that, Gustavo Navo, he's been signed an American goalkeeper by Havelock North. But as I said, all those guys were down in our under-20s, so not too worried about that, especially because they're all going to some fellow New Zealand clubs. But in terms of the players that we have brought in, first up we signed someone quite late on, around the same time as that National League final last season. If we get injuries in the deep line playmaker, or this is someone who could step up from the B team / under 20s. He's 21 these days, so really I should promote him up to the B team, so we'll do that. But Victor Otieno, he comes in as a very promising deep line playmaker out of Kenya, 5-star potential, 2.5-star current ability already, 32 caps for the Kenyan national team. We'll see if he does step up to the first team, if there's an injury or even a sale of someone like Sam Clark. We lose Tristan Turner, who is still here on a non-contract. So that's the first player that we did bring in. As well as that, though, a few more players who will impact things in the first team. Before then, a couple more under 20 players. Nicholas Cavalli, a right winger from Argentina. To be fair, I thought he had a lot more potential back when we signed him. He doesn't look too good, the man formerly of Pacifico Nukwen. And as well as that, Brandon De Beer initially was going to be our new left winger in behind Jonas Otto, while Finn Brown did move in to central attacking midfield. We actually signed him on a pre-contract halfway through last season, making sure we got him once his deal over at the Mafafa Bucks over in South Africa did expire. But he's relatively promising, 2.5-star current ability and 3.5-star potential. But he's actually in the B team because of strengthened a little bit off the back of that. 4 players that we did sign going to this new season, at least in terms of since that's ticked over in game. One of them, in Luis Villasquez, is someone who probably won't feature too much in this Champions League, but could be a bit more of a factor when we do get our way into the National League itself, needing those 2 under 20 players. He can play midfield and defence and has a fair bit of potential there with 4.5 stars, the 19-year-old from Ecuador. But to be fair, do think he looks a little bit better in defensive midfield, being 1.81 metres tall. So he's someone who, as I said, could feature a bit more once we make our way into the National League itself. But the other three that we signed there around the 20th of January, they will feature in this season's Champions League. First up, Diego Mazzi. He comes in as the right winger who should be playing for us while Alex Moore is out with that injury. 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential off the back of Alex Moore coming back. He'll probably drop down into the B team, but on a non-contract. The former Boca Juniors man, he does join us with some pretty decent attributes. That's someone who you will see in today's episode, because we're actually putting our rotated team for this first game in the Champions League. To be fair, all these signings, not quite first choice. Our first choice lineup from last season is still intact, at least in terms of from that National League Championship final. Also have upgraded on our backup left back in PA these days. We've got Rodrigo Serra out of Brazil, a 25-year-old who can also cover centre back, but being only 1.73 metres tall, he's definitely more of a left back, formerly of Internacional. He looks pretty decent, a new second choice in behind Sousa, so a bit deeper there in terms of our backup option at left back, and the same applies at left wing. This is a guy actually who is now the backup to Jonas Otto, while Finn Brown becomes that backup to Jamie Young, like was the case for the first half of last season. But Fernando Alfonso comes in, an Argentinian left winger on a non-contract, and actually covers central attacking midfield as well, but definitely looks a bit better as a left winger. Another player formerly of Boca Juniors with 3-star current ability and 3.5-star potential, albeit he probably is gone right off the back of the Club World Cup, because already he's going to San Martin Cucaman on the 1st of July. So definitely a more temporary transfer for us there. Unfortunately, with that wage situation, couldn't get him on a proper contract here. So on a non-contract, he got snapped up very quickly, and we could not offer him a decent wage to keep him here at Cashmere Technical. So Fernando Alfonso will feature during the Champions League and hopefully also stay long enough for the Club World Cup, provided we actually go to that this year, which we definitely should be, having picked up the OFC Champions League the last 11 times on offer. But definitely handy player who will be starting this upcoming game. We take on Waneagu in our Champions League opener. So those are the players we have brought in. As I said, doesn't actually impact our first team in terms of our usual starters here at Cashmere Tech compared to what it was at the end of last season. But our rotation, that's where things are a bit different. That's the team we're actually going to put out here for the first game of the Champions League, seeing as we are in Group C, had a pre-season. Unfortunately, our first team players haven't quite recovered as well as I was hoping from that most recent game that we did play before this OFC Champions League does kick off. So we're just going to go with the rotation 11 for the first game against Waneagu. But there you can see we've got these days Mazzi at right wing, and we've got Alfonso at left with Finn Brown in central attacking midfield. Usually we would have Serra at left back, but he somehow is on a heavy workload, so Sousa starts. But apart from that, it's a fully rotated 11. Shaun in goal actually could get some action in the National League this season, being one of our under-20 options, and the same applies to Peter Zajic and Jason Clark. So I imagine two of those players might make their way into the first team for domestic competitions here in New Zealand, just to fill that quota that we do need, but otherwise are our second 11 players, and down here, these are the first choice ones who we are giving a rest to. But Champions League wise, here's what's happened so far. We are in Group C, and we have been drawn alongside by Bassetai from Samoa, who are the host nation. Also Waneagu, of course. These guys did draw with Western Suburbs' first game of last year's Champions League. So definitely a team who could cause us some issues if our rotation players are not on their game. And also West Tribe FC from Papua New Guinea. In Group D, which takes place the same time as our one, we've got the other New Zealand team. I'm pretty sure this is the first time that both New Zealand teams have been drawn on the same sort of side of the draw in the groups. Usually one plays in the first half and the other gets drawn in the second half. This time, both of us get a bit of a pre-season. In Western Suburbs, they've been drawn alongside Costa from the Solomon Islands, Nadi from Fiji, and Tafia from Vanuatu. So definitely, there's some clear favourites in both of those groups. You'd imagine Tafia should go through alongside Western Suburbs. And in our group, you'd think Waneagu would be the second best team based on what they did last season. Also, they've been pretty handy for a few years now in this save already. Group A and B, they've been completed to Papa Mararinga, go through top of Group A and AS Tafana. They finish second, make their way through the knockouts. AS Quinono Sports, that might be a new team in the Champions League as well as Radars from PNG. They both got knocked out. And going down to Group B, that was topped by Tapuji and Mira, of course, last year's finalists. Labasa from Fiji, they're in the knockouts, while both the AS's Dragon and Magenta, they are already out. So that's what's happened at the Champions League so far, but we should really be making our way through this group pretty comfortably. But if there is a team that we could get upset by, it is in this first game where we take on Waneagu from the Solomon Islands. As I said last year, they did draw with Western Suburbs in the very first game of that group. So definitely someone who, if we're not on our game, could trip us up. But hopefully even with a rotate 11, that won't be the case now. I was actually going to do a bus trip for this one because we are off to Samoa for the Champions League this season. We're off to the JS Bladder Tuanaimoto Sports Complex Field 2. For some reason, we're not on Field 1. The problem being there's no Google Maps in Samoa, so we can do a little bit of a cheeky short bus trip. I'm not even sure I've actually thrown the little sting that I usually do for this, because really, just going to look at the hotel and the ground itself. If you're wondering, that bladder part in the S, that is named after Sepp Blatter. So some interesting naming over there in Samoa. I do think they might have donated some money to FIFA towards this place getting built whenever that was. Let's just switch over to Google Chrome and do a very, very short bus trip / stadium tour here over in Samoa, where we can't have too much of a look at how we're going to get to the ground from our hotel. So I thought we'll just do the hotel here and have a quick look at a picture of where we're playing itself. A little bit disrespectful, we're on Field 2, but we'll get to that shortly. We're going to stay at quite a fancy hotel here over in Apia, the Tanoa Hotel. It looks pretty nice. I think it's got 4-star rating. It's very nice, and we're going to be here for a week, so may as well make the most of it over in Samoa. Enjoy the hot sun while we can. Apparently Wednesday night includes a buffet dinner. Happy times indeed. There's a nice swimming pool. Going back up to some of these other pictures, looks like a very handy bar. Hopefully not Western Suburbs players here as well, otherwise they might get aggro and chuck out some red cards when they're not on the field based on what we saw in that game last episode. But definitely nice hotel we can stay at here. It would mean it's about a 15-minute bus trip, about 6 kilometers, so definitely not too far away from where we play in these games, and that is here at the Toliafoa JS Bladder Soccer Stadium, it's called here. When I googled it, a little bit different what popped up in Football Manager, but there is the actual facility itself. As you can see, it's a pretty decent one. The pitch is actually looking quite good condition. There's some ones we usually see in Oceania where we go to the group stages for the Champions League. There's also a pool inside the complex, which looks quite nice. There's a very decent looking indoor arena and also a couple of grandstands and some pavilions either side of the 2 fields as well. So it does actually look like quite a nice facility over there in Samoa. As I said, a little bit disrespectful that the champions of Oceania 11 years in a row aren't on field number 1. We're on field number 2 for all of these games, to be fair, every single team. And so it's a bit weird, but we'll deal with it. Hopefully though, our rotation team can get us off to a good start with a win over Waneagu. And just shot the 10-minute mark, we get the first highlight here of our first game of this new season. Waneagu going with a 4-3-3, do have a corner, so on the front foot here early in what looks like the All Black story there. Takes on a shot, it beats Hall, but thankfully comes off the post, and Jason Clark, one of our young promising centre-backs here at Cashmere Tech, can clear it away. But early stages, Waneagu actually on the front foot. A few minutes later, they have the ball, thankfully boot that one deep. A little bit of miscommunication there between Hall and Clark. Thankfully, doesn't result in anything too bad. We play it forward. Nice ball forward there to Johnston from Muzzy, who puts it away. Just beat him there. It is near post. Lafai, the goalkeeper for Waneagu. And off the back of a pretty average start to this game based on stats, we do take a 1-0 lead, making our way up from back. As I said, it did look a bit sketchy for a while, but we got it forward, and Muzzy played that forward to Johnston, who just got in behind there. That Waneagu defence puts that one away into the bottom left corner and gives us a 1-0 lead. And we go for about 10 minutes for the next highlight of this game. Waneagu with a front. All the highlights so far are staying with these guys on the ball, which is a bit concerning, but hopefully our rotation players will improve, especially off the back of that opening goal, which was somewhat against the run of play on the counter-attack, but they pump it deep, we get it back there, and Debenham did start to make his way forward down that right-hand side. Zajic back in there for Clark, who thankfully, his little bit of an oopsie before with Hall did not prove costly, albeit that pass before, I think it was from Alfonso, not too good. We give the ball away, but Waneagu pump it deep. We get it back there through Sousa, and now Alfonso starts to cut inside. Actually plays a nice ball over the top there for Marzi. Controls it well, but then looks the top left corner. That one goes just over the bar. Now we're starting to get a little bit more on the front foot, but still, overall stats from this game are very even apart from the fact our XG is a bit higher. And now, back down the other end here for a corner to Waneagu. So they're getting a couple of chances here from set piece, thankfully. Deal with that danger. They float a ball there far post, and Shaun Hall can claim that one pretty safely. Takes his time there before throwing it out to our left-hand side, where Jason Clark can play it to Sousa that ball. Thankfully, Alfonso just saw that one was a bit undercooked and read it well. Got there before a Waneagu attacker that could have put us under a bit of pressure still. Only 1-0 in front. Zajic now plays at 4-2 Vinicius these days, about third choice in terms of the All Whites. Brown plays that one back to Tristan Turner, a first-time finish with his right foot. Not too sure about the effort from Lafai. Maybe didn't get a good sight on that one with a defender being in the way, but a really good finish that one from Tristan Turner, and we grab our cushion goal here 10 minutes shy of half-time. To be fair, there's not much in the way there of Tristan Turner and the goal, so the goalkeeper there really had a good sighter on that one, but still got beaten. 2-0, 10 minutes shy of half-time. And just sneaking away into the last 5 minutes of this first half, and a late free kick, which Brown kind of takes shortly to Jason Clark before it goes back to Sousa. Hopefully, one more goal should put this one to bed before half-time. Debenham hits that one, or at least tries to do it, over Lafai and goal, but this time he stands tall and can make a pretty easy save. But now we're starting to put the foot down here just before half-time, albeit still hasn't been the most impressive performance from us so far, albeit with a rotated team. That's somewhat expected. Poor pass there again from Alfonso. Now, Suri, he makes his way onto the edge of the box here for Waneagu. They've definitely had chances to score in this first half, and they try a long-range effort there just before halftime, but thankfully that one dipped a little bit too late. 2 minutes of added time only, but that will do it for the first half. We're going to go into the sheds here with a 2-0 lead. We didn't start off that game too well, but as you can see, during the second part of that first half, we were definitely getting on top in that one, and thankfully got some pay for that with our 2 goals. Hopefully can kick on a bit more in the second half in our Champions League opener. And only a few minutes into the second half, we're on the front foot here, nice and early, got the ball deep inside of the Waneagu half, albeit are now playing it back to our centre-backs and defensive midfielders. But Johnston plays nice ball forward there for Marzi. It's some really good short passing, like to see it, just cut through them like a hot knife through butter. Unfortunately, Marzi ain't messy with finishing like that. That was pretty poor, went well wide, but a few minutes later, he's back on the ball here, down our right-hand side. The guy who's coming in for Alex Moore during the course of this Champions League plays that one very deep for Fernando Alfonso, who, to be fair, lets off a nice finish there into the bottom right corner in early stages of the second half. That really should put this game to bed. We make it 3-0. He did pick him out nicely, was in a ton of space, but still a fair way away from a goal-scoring position, but thankfully took a few touches before just curving that one into the bottom right corner, and he makes it 3-0, albeit there is a highlight right off the back of that. And so far, Waneagu have actually looked a little bit threatening in this game. Hopefully, that won't be the case here. They don't get an instant reply, and to be fair, Alfonso cuts that out quite nicely. Mazi will try and get a goal. Also tries to dip that one, kind of similar to the last shot of the first half from Waneagu. Quite similarly, that one's over the bar. Still at 3-0 Cashmere. And just show the arm we biggest highlight of this game, a throw for us here inside the final thirds. It does look like now most of the highlights are in our favour. Debenham puts that one far post for Fernando Alfonso, who puts it away and gets himself on a hat-trick. That's a very traditional Cashmere Tech goal, flying a ball far post. Now, guys, just a bit too big there for the teams from the islands, but that's a pretty easy routine there. Debenham gets that one back from the throw-in, and there Alfonso out jumps the defender, and it beats Lafai there at the near post as he makes it 4-0. And then a couple of minutes on from that fourth goal, there's another throw in here, but this time it is for the opposition in Waneagu, who can feel a bit harsh about the scoreline, but to be fair, had some chances early and from set pieces so far in this game, just haven't been able to take them, but now they make their way into our half. But really good sliding tackle there from Jason Clark, wins that one back for us, and a chance here on the counter-attack. Marzi makes his way inside the box, plays that forward to Finn Brown, who's apparently onside. Looked a bit too good to be true, that one, but Brown puts it away into the top right corner. He gets on the score sheet. Of course, this season has gone back to being a bit more central after actually doing quite well for us last season, late on as the backup to Jamie Young, but first time finish there with his left foot. Still not sure how he's onside, but we won't question it. Marzi gets another assist, and we make it 5-0. And we're just about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game. To be fair, most people out there are going quite well, so don't think any subs are needed too badly, especially with all the first team players on the bench being on a heavy workload. But I think we'll take off here the guys not quite in the green. So Sarah can come on for his competitive debut at left back for Susan. Also Jason Clark going fairly. Tim Anderson can come on for him. Otherwise, no, not too much needed in terms of subs with a 5-0 lead. And we just made our way to the last 10 minutes of this game, still 5-0. Don't really need to make any subs at this point, but a couple of players have dropped down to red hearts who will play things safe. Rivera can come on at right back, and Sam Clark in the deep line playmaker role. We'll just make sure no silly injuries late on in our first game, at least. Hopefully, those guys, of course, are on a heavy workload. Hopefully that won't backfire, but as we get to make our way into injury time, there is a highlight for us here of throwing inside the opposition half, and this is picks out Rivera down that right-hand side, squares it really nicely. There was a queue there of players trying to put that one away, and Finn Brown, he'll pick up a double just like Alfonso. So a few players now on hat-tricks in this game, but there's some of our sub-impact. Our first choice right back, the Ecuadorian, I believe he is, in Rivera, squares it nicely for Finn Brown, who puts that one away, and that makes it 6-0. Now the stats are definitely in our favour, but Waneagu, 11 shots, 4 on target. You can sort of see how they might have pushed Western Suburbs last season, because that's not bad against a team like us. Unfortunately for them, their chances weren't too high in terms of XG, but overall, that's a pretty good performance, especially considering that was our rotation team. So we definitely should be topping this group off the back of a 6-0 win over Waneagu. We'll go forward to play the next 2 games in this group and come back and see how Western Suburbs get on and when we're going to play them in the knockouts. And we are back, having picked up pretty similar scorelines to their opening game in our next 2 games of the group stage of the Champions League, this time with a full first choice 11, 7-0 over West Tribe FC, 5-0 by halftime, thanks to a double from the spot to Wadi Khalid. Also Young and Kamalo, they picked up doubles, and Marco Corona, he got a goal as well. So a very comprehensive 7-0 win there in our second game of the Champions League group over a team who did win on the opening match day before then. And we wrap things up by taking on the home team, at least in terms of the nation, in Vivase tie, and this one was 7-1. They grabbed a goal back early stages of the second half through Tuaiti Hunt, but it was 5-0 by halftime, so very similar to that previous performance. Wadi Khalid, he picked up 4 goals and helped out by Jason Clark, Finn Brown, and Marco Corona. As you can see, stats-wise, those 2 games, very similar in terms of stats, a little bit more dominant than we were in that Waneagu game. Do concede a goal that time, but overall, some very comfy wins there in our groups. Obviously, we go through top with a very healthy goal differential of 19. Waneagu, they get out of that group as we anticipated, even though we did beat them on that opening match day off the back of a draw against Vivase tie, backed up with a 2-0 win over West Tribe FC. Those guys finishing third off the back of an opening day win over Vivase tie, who finished bottom, unfortunately, there for the home team in terms of where those group stages did take place. And going over to Group D, Western Suburbs did go through with a perfect record, but to be fair, not as many goals as you might expect. They scored 8, conceded 2, only a goal differential for those guys of 6, but to be fair, 3 wins from 3, they go through. And behind that, absolute lottery, it ended up being decided on goal differential and Tafia, just do enough off the back of beating Costa on the opening match day 2-0, helped out there by a late red card, albeit those 2 goals did come early. Then it was only 1-0 loss to Western Suburbs, while Costa, they beat Nadi 2-0. Nadi got the better of Tafia 1-0, Western Suburbs 5-2 over Costa. But those narrow defeats that Tafia did suffer, I think, are the main reason they've gone through over Costa and Nadi. So a little bit lucky there for the team, who of course did finish above Auckland City in a group a couple of years ago now, back when Auckland City were not washed like a bag of fries. So Tafia go through as the second best team there from Group D, and now it's time for us to get stuck in to the draw for the quarters and semis of the Champions League this season. We definitely shouldn't be taking on Western Suburbs until the semis, which ideally for me will be when we take them on, just to make sure we've got 2 chances to beat them instead of just a one-off game as you saw last time around. They can sometimes be a little bit plucky, but first up, we come out of the hat. Let's see who we get. Should be a team that finished second in their group, and indeed that is the case. We'll take on A Stefana. That's probably something I'll get through off camera. Western Suburbs next out of the hat. They'll take on Waneagu. That's quite an interesting tie, of course, because as I said earlier, last year that was a draw in the group stages. That's actually a team Western Suburbs could get troubled by in the quarters and to round off here the draw for this stage, Tupapa Maralinga, of course, top Group A, I believe. They'll take on the Barca, which does mean Tupuji Amiri, last year's finalists, they'll take on Tafi, albeit we did beat them 11-0 in last year's final. But those are some quite tasty matchups there, especially Western Suburbs Waneagu and Tupuji Amiri versus Tafi. And now we can see the semi-final draw. Will we get Western Suburbs in the semis, or could it be an All-New Zealand final if they don't get beaten by Waneagu? First up, Tupapa Maralinga or the Barca will take on one of us or Ace Tafana. So it does mean could be an All-New Zealand final coming up in the Champions League this season, because the Pujiamiri or Tafia will take on the winner out of Western Suburbs or Waneagu. So there's our path through to this year's Champions League final. We definitely should be making it that far. We'll just see if we get Western Suburbs once we make our way forward to that, which, to be fair, could be the very next episode of The Save, because coming up next we do have an international window with the All Whites, but it's not a very good one. We'll just go over to the schedule. It's World Cup qualifiers. We've got New Caledonia and the Solomon Islands. So really, those should be easy wins. We might be coming back for the Champions League final come the next episode. But if you enjoyed today, making our way through the group stage of the Champions League and also those transfers going to this new season here at Cashmere Tech, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Until next time I see you, as I said, probably for the Champions League final. Fingers crossed I get through enough to make it that far, and we can absolutely book our ticket to this year's FIFA Club World Cup. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.